cloud. Boom. There we go. We're 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 uh we're all good to go now. So this is the price that you pay for trying to do something new and trying to, keep getting better. That 1% better I always talk about all the time. But you have to take some risk, and with big risk, there's big reward, and there's also a big chance for, we'll call it technical difficulty. So thank you so much for everybody being here today. I am excited to share with you guys. I was talking about time. I'm going to be very time conscious. I know the last webinar that we had, we ended up running a little bit over just for questions and stuff like that. So I'll still have some time for questions, but if you guys are able to in the chat, go ahead and let me know. If you have those questions, I'll go back at the end. If there's any, I'll be happy to answer them. But my goal is to wrap this up and finish it right at 12:45. So you guys are able to keep going with your day. And again, really, really appreciate you guys. In joining us today to be able to hopefully get some value from this. And my biggest thing is you look at February, and February is known as the quitters month, and the reason for that is because there's so many people that start New Year's resolutions, and by February is when I believe it was almost 90% of the people end up quitting whatever they decided to start. So I said, what's a better way than at the end of February to go ahead and refresh people's minds, to get them remotivated, because we still have a long journey ahead for the remainder of 2025, guys. So without further ado, wanted to go ahead and get started here. And again, if you guys want to go ahead and get the slides for this, I always, if you guys have been in a presentation before, I always like to share these with you guys, so that way you're not worried about like, am I going to catch this? Am I able to take a picture, whatever? If you just send me, whether you do a story and tag me, it'll send me a DM. If you do that, you're promised to get it within the first 24 hours. If you just send me a DM and say the word slides, you'll get a copy of this as well too, so you can go back to it as well. So a little bit about me, guys. I know some of you guys have heard my story, but the reason I want to share a little bit about myself today is to give you the top 3 things to do that you need before doing the actual top 3 things that I'm actually going to be sharing with you guys today. And that is, for a lot of you guys that don't know, I was actually born in Mexico. My mom had me when she was 17 years old. And then 2 years after that, she had my little sister. 2 years after that, she had my little brother. So I'm the oldest of 3. And whenever I say we grew up poor, we grew up really, really poor. My mom couldn't even afford to get us one piece of pizza for her family of 4 people, and she was working like 3 different jobs. And but at one point, she comes up to me and lets me know that she found a better opportunity, and that was to come here to the United States. But I thought I was going to get to come with her. I actually ended up having to stay back with my aunt and uncle and take care of my little brother and sister. And what I thought was going to be 6 months turned out to be 2.5 years. And then finally, my mom ended up being able to save enough money to be able to bring us here to the United States. And that is whenever I got here to the United States in 2004. Anybody that's joining that's local, you guys probably know Sand Springs, Oklahoma. It's a local suburb of Tulsa. And to say that I felt out of place is a understatement. If you can see this picture, it's funny that they picked this picture because I gave them a bunch of different pictures. But this picture brings a lot of memories to me because, first of all, my mom got me that hoodie, and you can't really see it, but it says OSU. And I didn't know what OSU was, but I just wore this hoodie. And I remember people coming up to me and either giving me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And it was just really confusing me because I didn't know. I'm like, man, I guess some people really like me. Some people don't like me at all. I didn't realize that, Oklahoma, you have the rivalry of OU and OSU. And then the other thing too that reminds me is that I was trying so hard to fit in and do everything that I could to be able to, get my peers to like me and then just be one of like, if you know Saint Spring, especially back in 2004, there wasn't a lot of Hispanic people out there. So in my elementary school, I was the only Hispanic kid, along with one more kid in the entire third, fourth, and fifth grade. This was in fourth grade, and so I was just really wanting to fit in. And I remember people started getting glasses around that time, and I remember telling my mom that I needed glasses. And so she took me to the doctor, and I remember, be careful what you wish for, because I remember faking, looking at the screen, and acting like I couldn't see for them to give me glasses. And then I got the glasses. Once they ran out of style, and they weren't cool anymore. I went ahead and I was like, okay, I'm done with these glasses. And at that point, I actually needed them. Well, today I wear contacts, which you know, I know a lot of people wear glasses and contacts, but be careful what you wish for, and make sure that you stay true to yourself, and that you guys are um, not trying so hard to fit in, because what you wish for might be your worst nightmare, guys. So anyways, that's a little bit about me. The reason I wanted to share that with you guys is because the three things that I want you guys to think about before we get into the top three things that we need to do to be successful this year is: one, if you really want to have a different year than you did last year, and hey, maybe you had a great year last year, but you want to do even better. Um, you need to know that you're going to have to sacrifice some things, and you need to be okay with that. You need to be willing to do things that you've never done before, right? My life wouldn't be what it is today if my mom wouldn't have made the sacrifice to not only leave her home country and come to a new country that she had. If I felt out of place coming over here, I can't imagine, how my mom felt. But also the sacrifice, which this hits home a little bit more now that I have a kid, but of leaving her three kids back in a different country in order to provide a better life for them. I would not be where I am today if my mom wouldn't have made that sacrifice for me. Second, it's got to be, you got to learn to adapt, right? 2020, I've been in this business 7 years this month. And to say that the business has been, it's been just completely different over the last 7 years, it's an understatement. If you were in the business before COVID, it was different during COVID, and it was different after COVID. And so there's all these new different things. I know so many people talk about social media, but honestly, even just AI has become a new thing that people are either going to adapt and be able to utilize it to be able to move their business forward, or they're at jeopardy of getting left behind. So you don't want to be that person. So you want to make sure that, just like I and my mom had to adapt to a new country with different food, different people, different language, you have to be willing to adapt this year with new tools and new things that are thrown your way. Today I posted a video on Instagram talking about, we have to work with the market that we've been given, not the market that we wish we had. And there's so many people last year, there's so many people this year that are so focused on the market that they fantasize in their head. For most people, it's like COVID times, right? But the reality is that we have zero control over that. And the reality is that chances are we're not going to go back there anytime soon. Last but not least, it's going to be your why. You have to know your why. And I challenge you to think back on why you're doing this job, outside of just putting a paycheck on the table to be able to feed your family. But whenever you find your why on why you're helping people either get a home loan. I know that we have a handful of loan officers here, or help them sell or purchase a home. We have majority of you guys are agents here. The only way that you're going to be able to truly step into that top performer realm of volume and units and hit those goals that you want is if you know your why. So those are my three challenges for you guys. And I guarantee you that even if you don't really look at the top three things that I believe you need to do this year to be successful, if you just focus on those: sacrifice, adapt, and your why, I guarantee you that your business is going to be completely different this year. So that being said, number one, just get it out of the way. I feel like every time that somebody sees me, they're just think of social media because next month in March, next month, that's in a couple of days. That's crazy that it's almost the end of the first quarter of this year. It'll be 3 years that I've been consistently posting on social media. It'll be 3 years in March or June, excuse me, that I started the podcast. And man, to say that consistency has paid off is an understatement, especially in the market that we've been giving when I started it, which was like close to the second half of 2022. At the end of the first quarter of 2022, which, as we all know, that we're in the business back then, that's whenever everything got flipped and rates started going up and it was a completely different market. But um, I shared I got the opportunity to share with some agents at the beginning of this year, and got to show them the numbers. And I believe from that time frame that I've been doing this, I've been able to generate over 120 leads and close over 30 deals from social media. And I don't know about you guys, but 10 extra deals a year uh, from social media have been a blessing to my business, because to say that it hasn't been easy the last couple of years, it's an understatement. 2024, was the toughest year that in real estate as far as sales goes in over 3 decades, over 30 years. So being on social media is definitely one of the things that you guys really need to make sure that you are stepping out of your comfort zone, adapt and sacrifice in order to be able to take a little bit more market share and be able to achieve the goals that you're wanting to achieve. I'm going to go over a couple of different ones of how you're able to go and put that content out there, and I'll give you some examples. But I just wanted you guys to know as well too, based on propertiesonline.com, it says that 73% of homeowners say that they are more likely to list a home with a realtor who's active on social media and using video. Yet only 10% of agents create listing videos or are active on showing, their listings and just overall like their knowledge that they have of the market. To where, if you ask me, that just tells me that there's a lot of opportunity there for anybody on this call that's not currently creating video, to be able to get ahead in front of your peers there. So video content, that seems pretty daunting to a lot of people. But today, what I want to do is I'm going to break it down into 4 different categories of how you can do it. Because a lot of the time, especially I've been blessed enough um, to teach almost 60 social media classes to agents. And a lot of the times it's funny, I started doing this feeling not qualified at all to teach these. I had maybe 1,500 followers when I first started teaching these classes back in June of 2022. And then now I have the opposite problem. I feel like people just think like I have less credibility now because people are like, of course it's easy for you because you've already done it all. So it's like, it's never a, like in again going back to be careful what you wish for, right? But I feel like a lot of the times when people hear me talk about social media, it goes one ear and out the other, because they're just like, that's just not, they look at my videos and they're like, that's just not what I do. And so I'm going to break it down to where one of the ways you don't even have to be on camera. So first, let's start off with what I mainly specialize in, and that is going to be um, talking head videos, right? If you notice, every single one of these is going to have 4 different platforms right next to it. You have Meta, which is Facebook, you have TikTok, you have YouTube Shorts, and you have Instagram. And the reason I have that is because no matter what type of content that you're doing, you want to make sure that you're distributing to all those platforms. Because the reality is that if you get 100 views on Facebook on a video, and then you're like, 100 views is not that much, I did all this work for nothing, right? But if you get another 100 views on TikTok and then another 100 on YouTube Shorts and some more on Instagram, that's 400 people that just watch you, pretty much edutain them is what it's called. It's educating people while entertaining them. And that's the biggest thing that I want to tell people is that, think about if you're looking at doing these talking head videos as you're entertaining people by educating them, and you can entertain people by giving them education that's very, very simple to you, but it's just earth shattering for so many people. Even as little as like, do you know that you don't have to pay for a real estate agent whenever you are looking to buy a home? Now, before people are like, well, you do now with the new NAR settlement or whatever. It's just an example, guys, as far as of how many people that and even with that new NAR settlement, I know that a lot of people, a lot of buyers are still not paying for their buyer's agent. So it's just simple things like that, though, that people don't know that it's your job, your responsibility to be able to educate them and teach them and be top of mind. Now, the next thing is going to be B-roll text. On this one, you don't even have to be on camera. And you can create the same type of content as a talking head video and put it in B-roll text. I'll show you guys a couple of examples. Let me get through the remaining two. The next one is going to be breaking down long form videos. This one's one of my favorites because I have a podcast, so it's easy to sit down and do a podcast, and then kind of chop it up into shorter content that a lot more people are going to watch. Because if you go and you're putting a long form video on YouTube or Facebook, you're going to get a lot less views. And it's completely normal. And the reason for that is because we have attention spans that are very, very short. So if I send over to you a YouTube video that's 60 minutes long, you're going to be like, I don't have time to watch that. But if from that 60-minute video, I end up clipping 3 30-second or 1-minute reels, then you'll be able to actually get my attention. And if I like those 2 to 3 reels, then I'm going to want to go now and watch the 60-minute video that you sent me there. And then we have green screen. This one's probably the easiest one because you're knocking 2 birds with 1 stone. What that means is that you can search for types of content that you want to talk about, and then you can click on news instead of search or images. Go to news and look up an article that's recent that, after reading it, you're kind of educated on it, and then you just have it in your background. You can do this straight out of Instagram or TikTok or even Facebook, to be able to capture somebody's attention with that newspaper's headline, and then you just talk about it for 30 seconds to a minute. And pretty much, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but there's so many people that don't want to read anything, even if it's something that's very short, like it says like 4-minute read. People don't want to read it. So if you're the one in 30 seconds telling them what's going on, you're going to become that person's now favorite person to watch, because they're like, this person tells me what's going on. And your credibility is that you have the source right behind you. So now let me show you some examples here as we wrap up the first thing that we need to do this year. First one is talking head. In the talking head and B-roll text, I actually ended up utilizing the same exact script, or the same exact content in that. So here I'm talking about, which one's better, stocks or real estate? Here I tell people that if they invest, let's say $10,000 on Apple stock or Amazon stock, and that stock goes up 5% year over year, you're getting 5% of the $10,000 that you initially invested, right? If you put the $10,000 towards a down payment towards a home, and your home goes up 5% over the year, you're going to be making a lot more, because you're making 5% over a $300,000-$400,000 asset now, even though you don't own the entire asset, as opposed to real estate, or excuse me, stocks. You're only getting back what you're putting in there, with the difference of the amounts that you're gaining year over year, which are pretty minimal, since it all goes back to the initial amount that you invested. So that same exact script, and if I lost you guys a little bit there and explained it to you, this is what I did without being on the video as well. And this is real estate versus stocks. And everything that I just explained to you guys that I did on that video by doing talking head video, I went ahead and put it on here as a B-roll text. If you go watch this, it's a video that's running in the background. It's not a picture. And if you look at that, and I'm glad that I ended up picking these because if you see, this is pretty much what a lot of people see is like on this video right here, it reached 610,000 people, but this one had 33 likes, and I don't know why the bottom got cut off, but it was that this video alone reached 20,000 people. So just because you're not getting the likes and comments, it doesn't mean that people aren't seeing your content that you're putting. Again, this is for somebody that is not wanting to be on camera, but I would highly recommend for you to make the sacrifice to be on camera because that way you're just top of mind. If I'm posting something like this, sure, it's better than doing just listed photos or just pending, but it's not going to be as top of mind because whatever they're watching, even if it's valuable, they're not maybe necessarily thinking of me because they're not seeing my face and talking. There's so many people that watch the videos that I do that honestly, it goes one into one ear and out the other. But guess what? They remember that they saw me, right? So the other one is going to be this one that I told you guys. Again, I don't know why I cut the bottom part of it too, but this one reached a few thousand people. And right there, my hook on that was the Tulsa housing market rebounds 12%, increasing in new home construction. And there, I'm just literally sitting there talking about it for less than a minute and and this was me geared towards reaching more local people. So this might have not reached 600, a million, 2 million people, but the people that it did reach were local people because that's who cares about this type of news. You don't have to do just local news. You can do different types of news, but this is one of the easiest ways to do it. Every now and then, whenever I don't have content, I literally just try to look for an article and then film it within that moment. No crazy editing. I just add some captions and then that's my hook. You know, I could literally be, in my bed with my bed undone and that's covering the background and people have no idea there. So last but not least is I mentioned podcast, but you don't have to have a podcast to be able to do this. If you're a person that you said, I don't do good on camera, I just don't know what to talk about. One of the biggest hacks that you could do is just put your phone up, put your camera up, and then just start talking to the camera about just your experience and maybe just some things that you feel that people need to know whenever buying a home, right? Like you can share something like, I was listing a home for some friends and I had told them from the beginning to paint the room, the primary room, it was pink. And I had told them that they needed to change it to a neutral color and blah, blah, blah. They finally did it after it sat there for 30 days. It went under contract right after that, right? Well, that could be like a 15-minute video that you're just rambling on, talking about that. And then that can be cut up to a 1-minute video that you can actually share with people. That nobody ever has to even see that 15-minute video. You don't have to upload it anywhere. And that's one of the best ways to, shoot some content there. Now, second thing that I want to talk about, guys, first thing that we need to do if we want to be successful in 2025 is social media. Second thing is going to be educating our clients, right? Today, I'm going to give you guys a few different things of how you guys are going to be able to educate clients, especially that are a little uncertain with everything that's going on and, where the economy's at and just all different things. If we take a look at here, this is provided by MBS Highway. The prediction is that rates are going to go from 7s to 6s, maybe even as low as high 5.75. Now, this is one prediction, right? There's a lot of other predictions, which I'm kind of, I'm a little bit more conservative and I rather under promise and over deliver, that it's saying that rates are not going to change at all from what they are currently right now, which to that I say, I'm okay with that because last time you guys remember what got us to where we're at right now is we ended up dropping rates and dropping them so quickly. And then we didn't have any other option but to, have rates, go up sky high like they were back in the end of 2023, which is my other thing is if you would have told me in the fourth quarter of 2023, hey, in 2025, rates will be high 6s, low 7s. the entire year, I would have just been like, yes, like that's great news. So it's all perspective, right? But this is news that you can tell people about when they ask, because these are questions that people are asking. Um, that way they can see you as not just like an agent that's going to show me a home, or an agent that is going to, or a loan officer that's just going to, run my numbers, but it's like they see you as an advisor, not a real estate agent, but a real estate advisor, not a loan officer, but a loan advisor. Now, this is the thing that excites me quite a bit, and it's nationwide. Nationwide is predicted for home appreciations to rise 4.5 to 5%. And that's great news. And I'll give you some examples so that way you can, tell your buyers this. But this means that people that are buying, even still in a somewhat higher rate environment, this is something that it's still helping them in their long-term wealth overall. You're still making a difference in these people's lives, and they need to know that, because so many people, I kid you not, there's people that I talk to that don't even realize that homes appreciate. This is crazy to some people listening. I should say everybody listening, because everybody on the call should be or is connected in this business one way or another. But that's just like, some people out there truly believe that because they don't know any better, right? They're not in our industry. And then the last thing that really excites me here is that all the reports out there are saying that even though we just came out of the worst real estate sales that we've seen in over 3 decades, we should see transaction volume up 15 to 20%, which is great. Because if you closed, 100 deals last year, that means that you can get up anywhere between 15 to 20 extra deals a year. And the reality though is that not everybody's going to experience this. Only the people that are truly wanting to better their business. If you sit back and wait for this 15 to 20 extra deals to come to you, that's not going to happen. You still have to work just as hard to be able to make sure that you're earning that extra 15 to 20%. That should just excite you, that there's going to be more volume overall. But if you're not doing anything to be able to capture those opportunities, you might not see any of that momentum that we're going to see, in 2025 here. So now, one thing I wanted to talk to you guys is the media. We talk about social media, and social media is something that you're able to tell your own version of how you see things, which we're not reporters. So we're not going to get fired off social media if we don't give headlines that are going to either cause fear or just straight up lie to people about, certain different things that you talk about. I don't know if you guys, utilize realtor.com, but realtor.com is some agents even get leads from it. And if realtor.com, some of their main income is income from agents, is posting different things like this, like August rental report, renting beats buying in all by 3 of the largest US metro areas. 6 reasons renting is better than buying. Guys, if realtor.com is putting out these articles, what do you think other media outlets are doing? It's your job to tell people why purchasing might be better for them than renting. Is purchasing better for absolutely everybody out there? No, it's not. And I believe that because it depends per situation. But there's so many people that it is the best. It is the best for them to purchase, that are just sitting on the sidelines. And if they wait and wait and wait, they're going to miss the boat. And whenever they're ready, they're going to be outpriced and all the things that they were looking at. Now, this is realtor.com. I don't know if anybody has ever seen or heard of Diana Olick. If you Google her and you look at any of her previous work, she just loves to talk about real estate, but loves to hate real estate a little bit. If you look at this right here, if we go all the way back to October 15th, if let's say that you had a buyer that was looking to buy a $400,000 home. I don't know if you guys can see my cursor, but I'm hovering here to $400,000 home right here. And then let's say that you were looking at some of the news like Diana Olick was posting, which at that time she was saying, this was just one of the articles in that year that she said, housing today, a bubble larger than 2006. Then you would have waited to 2016. That same house would have cost now $420,000. But then you look at the news again and it says, we're in a new housing bubble. And you're like, oh my goodness, like what is going on now? Now I got to wait again. Let's wait till 2017. Now that same $400,000 home is $441,000. Same exact home, guys. This is appreciation. This is what one of the basic things that a lot of our home buyers and home sellers don't know. November 2017, she says, home ownership doesn't build wealth, study finds. That one I got to really chuckle at because I'll show you some other data here. You kind of get the point, guys. Every single year, she's had something bad to say about real estate. And every single year, if you would have waited from 2015 and finally in 2022, you said, you know what? All these headlines are just straight up lies. I've seen all of my friends make money off of purchasing homes and then selling another and a better home. Now it's my time to buy. That same $400,000 home in 2017, excuse me, 2015 is now 708,000. And guys, this is back from 2022. So imagine how much that $708,000 home is now. So again, this is what our buyers and our sellers are seeing on a day to day. And I'm sure you guys have heard, but the media is going down on numbers with all the social media that we have, podcasts, different things. Numbers on CNN, numbers on Fox, numbers on local news, they're down because people don't like, they rather be on social media than be than be watching, a news show. So some of these headlines are getting even, worse in order to be able to get people's attention there, right? Now, this is something that what she was talking about in 2007, 2008, this is whenever the market crashed and it was due to real estate. Of course, this was a really bad time there. But outside of this time frame, which this is what everybody just likes to talk about, there was only one other time that we had a negative appreciation. Only one other time, guys, and two other times that it was at zero. So that means that your home wouldn't have lost value or wouldn't have gained value there. Now, the other thing to take a look at here is that this is how many homes we had in the market. And then look at, you guys have heard that, we're low on inventory. Well, that's because, builders aren't building like they were back in 2007 and 2008. Now, if we take a look at here is, if you see the blue thing right here, these are household formations. And what that means is if you have a family of two, like a husband and a wife, they need one home. If they have a kid, let's say two kids, and their kids grow up and then they start their own family, now that same family now needs three homes. If that couple gets divorced, which is sadly 50% of the country that gets married gets divorced, now that same one family of two kids that just needed one home, now that same family needs four homes. So this formation rate actually doesn't even have anything to do with the birth rate. That's even another thing of why inventory is so low. But if you see right here, this is your data to know what to tell your buyers when they say, well, I don't want to buy right now because I'm going to wait for prices to come down, just like they did back in 2007 and 2008, right? If you ask most people, like, do you know what happened back then? Most of them just will look at you and be like, the market crashed, right? They don't really know what to tell you. Like, they just kind of know a little bit of like, hey, the houses were going under foreclosure. They don't really know what happened. And it's our job, guys, to educate those people. Okay. Now, the other thing too, that if we take a look at how low rates were back in 2021 and where rates are at right now, this is coming straight from ADP, which ADP is like, the largest payroll companies in the nation. What people don't see, and most the news won't tell you for sure, is that and there's been an average increase of income since 2021 of 15%. So the difference of what you're paying now in your mortgage, you're also seeing that in your paycheck for most people, not everybody, but for most people. So that might be just the other question when people say, man, it's too expensive to buy right now. I would say, well, hey, are you getting paid the same as you were back in 2020 and 2021? I guarantee you most of those people are most people will say that they're not They're not making the same money that they were making back then. They're making more because of inflation. Inflation is not, something that everybody loves, but the reality is that there's a good amount of people. Like we're very blessed to be here in America, to where there's different ways to make money, to where you're able to adjust and not get left behind even more, right? Last but not least on here, guys, is the me being conservative. If you guys remember what I showed you guys back over here, it was the uh 4.5 to 5% is the estimated nationwide of appreciation. So me just being conservative, I'm just gonna say 4.1%. A home for $500,000. Um, if somebody buys right now, that's a potential gain of $20,500 for just purchasing that house. Um, in 5 years now, which the average person lives in a home 7 years, they will be looking to gain anywhere between 150 to $175,000. So we have to find ways to communicate to our buyers and our sellers, hey, we can either jump on the train now if it's the right time for you, so that way you can acquire that wealth over the next 5 years, or we can sit on the sidelines, keep waiting for the perfect market, and you can pay 150 to $175,000 more for the house that you're wanting now. It's all about having those crucial conversations with our buyers that nobody is having, guys. And when I say nobody, I'm talking less than 1% of the industry is having with these buyers. But whenever you have those conversations, like every time that I do a home buyer's consultation with the buyer, which I have one today, I always tell them, hey, my goal from here is not to sell you. My goal is to educate you so that way you can make that decision on whether it's right for you to buy right now or not. And guess what? 10 out of 10 times, every person leaves there seeing like, I gotta buy something now, because if not, things are getting more expensive. And, they make that decision without me having to sell, sell, sell. I'm just educating them. And I guarantee you that'll be, the best thing that you could do there. Last but not least, guys, this won't be short and sweet. We got 4 minutes on the call. Tracking and following up leads. If you do social media, if you're educating your buyers, if you're doing all the things that you're supposed to be doing, and you're getting the leads and you're not tracking them and you're not following up with them, you're doing yourself and potential, your buyers and sellers a disservice, because majority of those people will end up closing and selling with other agents and other loan officers. But there are a small portion of them that will never make a move because you never followed up. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to have that on me to where I feel like, man, I remember that, buyer that was approved for $150,000 2 years ago that I never followed up with them. I wonder if they ever purchased, because now I'm too ashamed to follow up now that I thought about it 2 years later. Because that buyer might have never gotten reached out by anybody else. And now they can't afford a home now because they were never followed up. So just something to think about, guys. You have to really look at the activities that you're doing, and then making sure that you're tracking your activities. You got to remember that the activities are the only things that you can actually control. You can't control your leads, you can't control your volume, your units, but you can control your activities there, guys. And are we tracking our activities, and are we tracking our leads? Because if we're not doing that, I can probably guess that you're not following up, right? Most people, I'm like, are you following up with your leads? They're like, yes. I said, I'll ask them then, are you tracking your activities? No. Are you tracking your leads? No. How are you following up with them? Because I know that our brain can only, keep so much. So something to think about there. I know at the very beginning, I gave you guys those three things: sacrifice, adapt, and know your why. If you didn't get anything in the middle of this webinar, just remember that: sacrifice, adapt, and know your why. And then just know that you have to start tracking your leads at least, because if you track your leads, you'll have higher conversion rates, more closings. Last but not least is, I always ask people this question is, do you know how many people it takes to close one deal? Most people don't know. It's 35 to 40 people. This is my simplified version of telling people, how the process goes, but there's just so much more behind it. And I tell them, but you know what? Don't worry about it all. What you need to worry about is when we go under contract, I am going to give you weekly updates. And every single week, I'm going to let you know where we're at on title, appraisal, underwriting, all these different things. If you're an agent, you can have your own checklist. Of course, you can't update them on underwriting unless you're getting the update from the lender. But if you do this, when you do this, you give automatically better customer service because most people are like, my agent, my loan officer won't answer their phone. You're the one calling them when they don't need anything. You're just giving them an update. You put yourself in a position to get more leads from that person because if you guys have heard of RAS, reticular activating system, I just had another customer home buyers consultation on Monday with the couple, and the lady was like, "Oh my gosh, on my way here, I saw like five for sale signs," and I go, "Well, you know they've been there the entire time, right?" And she just looked at me like what I was talking about. And I go, well, RAS is reticular activating system. It's like when you buy a car, or in my case, whenever we had our first child and my wife is pregnant, every girl that I looked at seemed like that they were pregnant. The reality is that I was like, everybody's having a kid the same time that we are. And the reality is that those people were there, those girls, there were always pregnant women there the entire time. I just never paid attention to them because it wasn't within my scope of information that I cared about in my brain. But now I'm having a baby, or I just bought a new car, or I'm buying a home. That's all I'm thinking about. So if you're given automatic great customer service, they're going to be thinking of you next time that somebody says, I'm looking to buy a home, because they're going to think, oh, I'm buying a home. I just bought a home. You should use my agent, my lender, and you're more than likely to work with that client again. Sadly, only 17% of buyers uh, or sellers, it just says clients overall, will work with that person again, the same realtor on that there. So don't let that be you guys. We're right at 12:45. I didn't see any questions come in, so I want to respect everybody's time. But I appreciate you guys joining today. And if there's anything I can do for you guys in the future, feel free to reach out, and I'll be happy to help. Everybody have a great rest of your week.